Jamie?
Be advised that proper notice has been given by the Township Council in accordance with the Sunshine Law in the following manner. Notice advertised in the Burlington County Times and Camden Courier Post on January 4th, 2019, and posted on the bulletin board on the same date. Mr. Lyon?
Here.
Mr. Romando?
Here.
Ms. Correo?
Here.
Mr. Burrell?
Here.
Mr. Ketchum?
Here. So first we have some action items, first of which are minutes for approval. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the August 27th action work session and closed session meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Romando?
Aye.
Ms. Coreo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. Next I need a motion to approve the minutes for the September 3rd, 2019 public meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Romando?
Aye.
Ms. Coreo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. Next we have consent agenda, resolution 2019-189, approving a raffle license for the Delran Sports, Youth Sports Association. Resolution 2019-190 is a resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation in accordance with the Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund. Resolution 2019-191 is appointing Corey E. Ahart as the municipal court judge for a term to expire October 31st, 2022. Resolution 2019-192, authorizing the township to participate in the Defense Logistics Agency Law Enforcement Support Office 1033 program to enable Delran Township Police Department to request and acquire excess Department of Defense equipment. Resolution 2019-193 is requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation in accordance with the 2019 drive sober and or get pulled over. 2018. It's 2018?
Yes.
All right. Resolution 2019-194, authorizing the purchase of one regular cab pickup truck and a snowplow, plus additions under state contract T2101. Resolution 2019-195 is authorizing the purchase of police uniforms under state contract T0106. Resolution 2019-196 is approving raffle license for Delran Fire Company number 2. And Resolution 2019-197 is authorizing the executive session to discuss contract discussion, Delran Emergency Squad, co-litigation update, and a personnel matter. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Romando?
Aye.
Ms. Coreo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. Next, I need a motion authorizing the payment of bills, including all purchases made under the cooperative purchasing agreement.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Romando?
Aye.
Ms. Coreo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. And finally, I need a motion granting a mercantile license to Nanda Brazil, Inc., 4037 Route 130 South, Suite 12, Tallego Auto Repair, 71 St. Mihiel Drive, and Blackstone Motor, LLC, 150-12 Carriage Lane.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Romando?
Aye.
Ms. Coreo?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. All right, so our first item on the work session agenda is our best practices worksheet. Jeff, you've slaved long and hard over these questions. Anything that you need to know that is that we weren't able to glean from the incredibly long report of these questions?
Yeah, the memorandum pretty much answers everything. Is that we, Jamie, myself, and Peggy, the CFO, we went over the best practices. Municipalities have had to do this for the last 5 or 6 years in order to continue to receive all of your state aid, although, quite frankly, we're almost down to 0 state aid. But at the same time, you have to go through the process. There are 84 questions. Some of them are graded, some of them are not. You have to come up with a score of 30 plus in order to, and it's not that we have 84, there's half points and all these things. But we significantly exceeded the 30 plus, so we'll continue to get our state aid. There's 1 or 2 questions on here that that were not graded for this year, but usually when you see that, that means it's going to be a graded one next year, so we'll work on some of those policies that we don't have in place. There's, I think there's only like 2 that we're concerned with, but foreign and large. We had met all the requirements without any difficulty, and we need to get it back to the state by the end of the month, so we would ask if everybody's okay, unless you have any questions, that you make a motion to approve it so we can submit it before October 31st.
Anything we should be aware of that doesn't jump out at us? I mean, there's a number of those typical question really doesn't address issues in our town. But other than that, it looks like everybody's had a chance to read it. Anybody have an issue or a question for Jeff? For a motion?
The 1% they give us is whatever small amount.
It's
You get 100% of 1%.
Yeah.
It's a really small number these days.
So we just need a motion to approve the checklist as it stands, the responses.
You've seen it, recognize it, and approve it.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the check, seen, recognize, and approve the checklist.
So moved.
Second.
I need a roll call here, Stu, or Ms. Bowden.
Voice vote's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It is approved. All right, next is a request for the RCBC to use the facility. I know it's normally just a matter of formality. Anything we need to know in their request that would give you concern, Jeff?
This one came through Jamie.
Jamie.
The only difference is this is not for, specifically for our seniors. They've done a program for our seniors, then they did one for Delanco, and now they're just asking for approval in general. And for the most part, we've limited things to our community, and in one instance, we did allow for Delanco because they invited our people as well. And it's open to Delran residents, but it is not just a Delran resident activity.
Is this the general practice of what they're gonna be going forward asking us all the time, or is this just another?
It seems like
It's
it.
looking
They're
that way.
having 2 seminars, a pain management and a wristband, which is a matter of balance. And I think they've just been successful and been using our facility for the others and would just like to continue.
I'm
And
just
it's
gonna ask one
open
other
for
question.
everybody.
No, I got you. Is there any other town that's doing this, like offering their building as well, or is it just Delran?
No idea.
Just wondering.
So I'm curious, if they don't have meeting rooms at RCBC, I mean, I like the fact that it's here and that it applies and it's open to the residents. I would say, I don't think it can hurt, but I think we should add the stipulation that maybe it has to be open to Delran residents, regardless of what they're doing.
It's open to all seniors.
Okay, well then I don't see a problem with that. I mean, they're not tearing it up or taking pictures with motor oil or anything, are they?
The only question I have is, where do we draw the line with other people wanting to, because now we're opening it up to everybody, and I'm okay with it too, but at the same time, you really have to now realize that anybody that comes to us could ask to use our rooms because we're opening up to everybody. And
Right, well,
Delran,
they
so
can,
anybody can ask.
and I think we'll just have to use our discretion as to who gets approved. I don't think that the only college, community college in the county, wants to reach out to seniors. I don't see a downside. If some organization that doesn't fit our criteria, whatever that criteria may be, then we deny it.
We provide insurance.
Right. They don't do.
Yes.
They name us as additional insured?
Yes.
That's what we need.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
So, do we need to do anything or just?
I mean, I always like to have a motion to
Motion.
authorize.
So I need a motion to authorize the Rowan College of Burlington County to be able to use the facilities for a matter of balance workshop for seniors starting October 28th.
Motion.
Voice? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Moving right along. Big agenda. Next is a question that we received as to the ballot question. This is really, all this is asking is the ballot question that provides support for New Jersey veterans, that we kind of give it a resolution supporting the ballot question. I don't see any negative to this. We were asked, it's for our veterans. Anybody have any questions about this? It just seems like a pretty natural thing to support property tax deductions for veterans and widowed spouses of veterans. And everybody's read the resolution. The proposed resolution would be, in essence, a $250 a year property tax deduction in recognition of the service for that country. Anybody want to make a motion to approve? And what would we do if they put this on? We would have to do this resolution?
Yes.
Right, so we just need a number.
198.
Look at you.
So moved.
Second.
So, all right, voice vote is fine with this, Stuart, as well?
Yes.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll let the senator know. No, you want to do that, or you want me to send an email up to the senator that we approve that, or?
We can do that.
You can do that, great. Okay, so next is the master plan revision, the re-examination, that as I think we all know, that there's a requirement that the township review portions of the master plan every 10 years. And we need to authorize this, and authorize by ordinance a special emergency to provide the authorization for the necessary professionals. Stu, I'm going to have you chime in here in a second. Really, it comes down to the money involved, and I think we overshot the mark on 30. I know that. Well, Stu, why don't you talk to us a little bit about who would be involved, what professionals, that kind of thing, as your best recollection.
So, as Gary noted, the master plan has to be updated, or re-examined, I should say, or updated at least once every 10 years. If you don't start the process in year number 10, it used to be every 6 years, now it's every 10 years, then your ordinances in your town are going to be subject to a rebuttable presumption that they're unreasonable, which means that anybody can come in for a use variance any place, and then the master plan would be deemed unreasonable, and therefore that element in any kind of use variance application that you're offending the master plan would be taken away from the town or the zoning board in particular to argue against. So that's why we have to do that. So the process really begins here with the council authorizing the planning board to essentially open up and begin the re-examination process. So it's up to you to authorize it, number one. Number two is to appropriate funds for that. And number three, you can direct different professionals. And let's talk about the funding is obviously would be based upon professional fees, and I see really essentially two professional fees. Would be the planner that would be preparing the master plan re-examination report, and the planning board solicitor that would be sort of handling whatever resolutions were necessary at that point, and noticing fees, or some noticing fees to notice the public for that. So the master plan process, for those that have not been here before, or as a refresher, the municipal land use law essentially says that once you take action here, the planning board of each town is the keeper of the master plan. What the master plan essentially is a document that lays out what is supposed to be your goals and objectives and your land use plan for the next 10 years. That document, once approved by the planning board after a public hearing, becomes a process by which then the governing body does not have to approve the master plan. That's done solely by the planning board. Then the governing body can legislate by adopting ordinances which implement the master plan. Like if you wanted to rezone a parcel property from A to B, then you'd adopt an ordinance to that effect. The master plan re-examination report in and of itself is not legislation. It's not an ordinance. It's simply the planning document that the planning board determines is your roadmap for the next 10 years. By law, there are 3 mandatory elements. 1 is your statement of goals and objectives. 2 is your land use element, rezonings and or not. Then finally, your housing plan, which is not in the MLUL, it's in the Fair Housing Act, which requires that every time you update your master plan, you have to have a housing plan. We are fortunate this year that the housing plan has already been done because that was part of the whole COA, affordable housing litigation. That piece has been done, check that box off. And when they do the master plan report, they would just note that, be incorporated in or reincorporated. So you really have the other 2 mandatory elements, which is the statement of goals and objectives and the land use element. There are at least 10 other optional elements that you don't have to do, you can do. If you want me to go over them, I can, but essentially it's talking, it's a recreation plan, an open space plan, a historical element. These are things that are really not necessary, and a lot of towns just remove it, unless there's a specific need. Some towns are doing an alternate energy type of element to see about alternate energy, solar and that kind of thing. But beyond those types of elements, most towns are really sticking to the basics. I would just say that, you know, my experience, this is clearly a policy decision, my experience is that since CME has already done the housing plan, it would seem to me, and most towns would go with their plan. I don't know who your planning board planner is at this point. I know it's different than CME, but it seems to me they've already done one of the elements, and it would seem to me that it would make, at least from a cost and efficiency standpoint, that CME should be the one, the firm that would be doing the balance of the master plan reexamination report. Clearly, it's, if you don't appoint them, then the planning board would use their own planner. So you have the ordinance, which is the appropriation, and then we would have to have a separate resolution tonight, or if you don't want to do the resolution, that would do it the next meeting, but a resolution basically would do 3 things. One would authorize the planning board to open up the master plan. You would define which elements to do, the 2 basic ones, plus the housing element, which have been done, and any other optionals if you wanted. And then finally, who you would want to pick as the planner. If you're solid on that, then the planning board would use its own planner.
Right. So how do we determine, I mean, we have a number in this, the sample that was included as $30,000. How do we determine what, I mean, this is kind of a cart before the horse. How do we know what number to approve without getting, you know, before we've appointed the planner? How do we?
Typically, the professional would provide you with a proposal.
Okay.
In this case, 2 professionals, and that you base that, your funding on that.
So we don't know that yet. Or what do we do?
Actually, we did.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Okay, so we're only appointing the planner, not the solicitor?
The solicitor is strictly at the planning board.
Okay, so that's getting appointed, but, okay.
You have discretion as to which planner
Planner,
to use.
but not the solicitor, that's.
Right.
Okay.
So we do have a number from,
The planner was $20,000, the attorney gave a hourly fee, so
so,
we went with 30 just to be.
so help us do, because while I was on the last reevaluation, it was 10 years ago when there was a lot of water under the bridge. Would the attorney's fees be comparable to half of the planner's fees?
It would be a quarter, so I wouldn't see the attorney being any more than $5,000. Somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000. Basically, the attorney is going to be reviewing the housing plan just a once-over. The attorney would be helping to prepare the notices for the master plan hearing that would be published. And then finally, being at the meeting and preparing a resolution adopting the master plan. So you have those elements. I can't see that being more than $2,500 to $5,000.
The $20,000 estimate from the planner was for those basic elements that Stuart outlined,
Right.
the 3.
Oh, did not include the optional? Okay, so there you go.
So I don't remember us doing any, you know, this is an ongoing, you know, we used to have this, it's
Just
a,
to notice this element as well, and that's within now.
right, we
So
need,
I don't know if that has to be,
It's an optional element. You don't have to update it. You can update it.
I mean, I can look and see what we have in there now to determine.
How much more would open
Section
space be,
forward.
just in case it's forgot it?
She didn't give a cost on that.
Could we do that 2 years, 3 years down the road? We can make iterations?
So the
or-
statute says you have to have it reevaluated at least once every 10 years, so you can actually do it as much as you want. It was obviously recommended because the idea is it's a guide.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a level of urgency here to get the COA element involved, because that certainly is in play right now, and the housing element.
I would certainly recommend that you begin this process in 2019, because,
Right.
so that this way we're protected from the presumptive determination that when your master plan is more than 10 years old and hasn't been reviewed, your ordinances are presumably unreasonable. We don't want that.
But let me ask you a question, so let's say the open space isn't done like, as long as they do these couple, are we okay saying we did a couple?
Correct.
And they can't come after the open space one?
That's correct.
Do you have something to add, Jim?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to point out is, and I don't know if the planner or Mika can include into the basic ones you have to update, because you apply for a lot of different grants for trails, sidewalks, bikeways, and nearly all those grant applications we applied for ask for master plan support. And your master plan is kind of lacking on a lot of those, like especially the trail we wanted to do.
So
from
recreation,
Notre
you're talking?
Yeah, I mean, those would typically be found in like their circulation plan or the recreation and open space plan. Now, I don't know if she can somehow include that into the basic components, those types of projects, so we can say it's in our master plan or not.
Let me ask you a
That's just
que-
something I want you to consider
Let me
when
ask you a
looking
question.
at the other plans.
In her submission, she did it for the three, and the COA's already done. So
Right.
is there any way that extra money that she was charging for the COA could cover the?
Well, she wasn't charging me for that.
Oh, she wasn't charging? Okay, I'm sorry.
I wouldn't think she would.
No, I didn't have to use, I said for the three, and you said yes, that's what I was like.
I don't want to keep you from moving forward tonight, I just,
No, I got you.
I can ask her to kind of look at, I
How
don't know,
much more
to
of our
look at,
direct
how much
would
would it
be?
be just to do like a limited, I don't know if it's possible to do like a limited update of those other zones, or if it's possible to include it into these zones, those types
So
of elements.
If we were to, so this would be first reading at the public meeting, or how does that work?
That's what you wanted to do. You can do it tonight.
And that's typically when we do it.
You can introduce it by title tonight and leave the number out till you get your final.
Is the public before the next planning board meeting?
No.
So we lose a planning board meeting to even make I mean, I don't know how fast we have to do this, but
As long as we open up the process by the end of the year.
As long as we start this part of the process, you're saying?
Well, I'd like to see the resolution. The ordinance is the funding element, and there's some elements in your ordinance that talk about opening up. I also would like to see the resolution specifically authorizing the planning board. I'll get you some language authorizing the planning board to re-examine the master plan. You list the elements that you want them to do, and you list the professional planner that you want them to use, unless you want them to use the planning board planner, and that you decide on.
So we could do both at the next meeting, which would be the 12th. We would lose the planning board meeting, but we don't have a resolution to approve. Yeah, I mean, we don't have a resolution to
Well, the
approve.
special emergency ordinance has to be adopted before the planning board can
That's okay, no, that's okay.
Right?
I'm just saying, I was just wondering if it had to be done before the meeting, that's all.
So,
I would introduce the ordinance by title.
yeah, ordinance by title tonight, and then we
Do
ask
the resolution
Miko what it
at
would
the
be.
second meeting, the ordinance the next meeting, and then
What additional elements are you looking at?
Just whatever the
I don't want,
the open space and the.
there's another workshop between now and your public hearing for the ordinance, right?
Oh, the public
Not if
hearing
we
for
do
the
it-
ordinance?
Not if we do it at the
No,
public
they're
meeting
doing
in
it as
November.
well.
We could do the first tonight, but then, do we have to wait a month, or is it just the
No,
next
we can
meeting?
do it on the 12th of November.
So we could do it on the 12th.
can we ask Mika to give us a price or a proposal on doing the open space element and rec elements? Open space
Yeah,
and
we
rec.
could probably tie it
So
all.
they're two separate elements, but if you can tie it into one, just to give you a price on it, and,
Oh,
And and then we can decide.
And you can also say to her, listen, you know, you wanna do it all, we want the whole thing done, I mean, you can negotiate that price as well.
Yeah.
Okay, the
I'm
next.
not trying to argue with you.
No,
I'm
no,
just saying,
I
like
don't wanna
that.
do more than we need and what you want to do, but
The next, one other question I have, because now it's the attorney part. If they add those two things to the attorney part, does it affect that 5,000?
It's all gonna be one document
Gotcha, that's
with these different
I just wanted to
elements.
make sure with the figure bit.
He might have to read a couple more pages, which could be thousands of dollars. Attorneys read so
I
much.
know how they
if
are.
you want me to do this, I mean, I don't want you to do more than you were comfortable doing, I just.
Listen, you're already
Do you-
upset the apple cart.
Do you
now,
feel
okay?
it needs, do you feel it should be
Well, you
done?
keep wanting to apply for these types of projects
Yeah,
for
and
grants,
if it's
and
grants, we
these
should.
are
Yeah, I
point
think you should do
getters,
that.
you know.
I don't wanna lose grants.
If it's in the master plan, we get these points, I'm not telling you you're gonna get the grants, but it's just,
No, I
you
got
go
you.
higher up on the list.
Yeah, if you're experiencing that routinely, then it's something.
It is, all the DOT grants, the Fed grants, everything.
Did you-
Yeah, I agree, so I think
What do you
we,
think, John?
Can you,
We-
I'm sorry.
I think we just ask for Jim and Mika to get us some updated information at the next meeting we can.
So
format.
we can read the ordinance by title and introduce it tonight, and then fine tune it before we give it a second reading?
It's not gonna be more than $5,000 for that other element. This is
Oh,
$30,000.
so we can leave it, so we can leave it at 30.
And if you take a look at that, I mean, it's.
If we do the additional elements, 30,000 makes sense.
I'll ask her for a number, and and then
He's shaking
if she
his head,
comes
it's
in
not gonna
over
cost.
5,000, it will be 5,000. If she comes in under 5,000, you get it under 5,000.
Okay.
Okay, so then 30's good, then you can do
So
it.
25 and 5 max, the breakdown, 25 for the planner and 5 max for the
And
attorney.
if it's not, it doesn't get used, it doesn't get used, right?
I mean, it gets raised over 5 years. We're talking like 1,000 a year for 5 years.
That's not.
Okay.
It's just-
All right, so we need to introduce this by
Not by
time.
time, if you're gonna stick with 30, then you're good, you can introduce the ordinance as written.
Okay. But I'm still just reading the title. Are you two in agreement? Okay. I want everybody to be. All right, so I
Good
need.
luck with that.
I need a motion this would be the first reading of ordinance 2019-20. This is an ordinance of the township authorizing a special emergency appropriation for the preparation of a master plan as described in the attached ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Definitely.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Romando?
Aye.
Ms. Correa?
Aye.
Mr. Grell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. All right, so then what's the next step? The planning board? Not yet.
Not
The
yet.
next step we have to read, and then,
We have the second reading on the ordinance, once we get the updated proposal from CME for the optional elements that Jim talked about, and then I'll also have a resolution on to formally open it up and give it to the planning board. And does anybody have an idea of who you want me to put in there as the planner? Because the elements are open at this point.
yeah, I think Mika and CME, I mean, she's intimately aware of one whole section of it.
Yeah, you
And
got it.
has always done a great job.
That's how good you are, you just knew ahead of time.
I'm a crest.
I was gonna say.
Thank you, and I'm sure I can
Who is?
speak for Mika, and she thanks you as well.
No,
Yes.
She does a good job.
All right, so next we have discussion on the computer upgrade. Jeff has riddled us with background information. Be aware that, in January, Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft, so that means security patches, fixes all stop happening. So we have to move forward. Where are we? I thought we had agreed that we were going to do this. Is this the final proposal?
This is the final proposal, if everybody's good. The items are covered under either state contracts or co-ops, so all we need is the authorization to move forward and we can start issuing purchase orders. It brings us into compliance with the items that you outlined. It also brings us into compliance with the backup servers and things that we need for the new cyber insurance coverage that we have to meet, and puts in some additional firewalls, or strengthens some firewalls as well, so that we can meet all the criteria that's required there. In addition, it's a big number, but we can use we have a $500 grant, basically a grant fund, that will also utilize for cyber that we can use against it. I know it's not a big number on this, but, and this meets the ordinance number that we provided in your capital budget, so this is the final step before the actual equipment starts arriving.
When we are, I can't remember if I read this in there, is there provision for, or would you, let's just make sure that there is provision for, I mean, they're gonna be replacing all these old units, and there's tons of data on all that. There's provision for a safe disposal of those units, and you know, both the equipment and the hard drives and the data needs to be protected. I'm sure that they're gonna do this. This is pretty intense proposal, and while I understand most of it, some of it got past even me, so.
If I could speak to that.
Yes.
There is a confidentiality and proprietary information provision.
Mhm.
What is lacking here is an indemnification provision, and also, I don't see anything about insurances.
This is section 5 for those folks that are looking.
And typically when we do this, we want to make sure that they have, because, you know, somebody hits delete all files, you know, they have to back up. There's a whole process they have to do, but I'd want the appropriate computer type insurances that I typically require. I also would want an indemnification. Jeff, I don't know if you want to ask them to put that in. I can send you, I mean, I don't want to over lawyer this, but those are some basic statements that should be in there.
Okay.
You'll let me know if you want me to provide these information.
Yeah, okay.
And who are we indemnifying?
They're indemnifying us.
Okay. Good.
And
Anybody
there's
else?
another issue too, I just caught, they want to do this arbitration, any disputes have to be in Bergen County, forget it, I mean, at least, I'm from there, but I'm not driving up there if there's an issue, so, it has to be Burlington County, so.
Okay, so our next step on this, unless there's, if anybody has any further questions, would be to, how do we move forward with this? We just say, okay, we do a resolution, we do a
Well,
motion.
you'll ultimately get it, you'll get it on the bill list, but if you can just give us a roll call vote tonight to put it, we'll have it ready to go on the bill list and authorize the next meeting.
Okay, so this is a,
Resolution authorizing these contract,
Yeah.
subject to the solicitor's final review.
always.
Well, sometimes they're
No, no,
complete.
no. All right, so I need, this is just a motion? This is a motion or a resolution? So which one?
It's gonna be a resolution, you have to adopt my motion.
Okay, so, number 1.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve Resolution 2019-199, which would authorize the moving forward pending the attorney's final review and approval of the contract of the computer upgrades for the township.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Fernando?
Aye.
Ms. Correa?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Okay, while we're at it, let's move some other stuff forward. Next is the big changes headed for the court system and the big room for public meetings and planning and zoning. So we're in the same boat here. We have final proposals. Jeff, you want to tell us anything that we need to be aware of beyond?
Yeah, one of the items that we had discussed that they threw in here, but we're going to pull it out, is, and it's actually a billing issue, is that they had put in here for the video option that we would supply them dates and they would do the recordings and put them on YouTube, and we don't intend to do that.
No.
So we'll pull that out. It doesn't change the price, to be quite frank with you, because that was going forward $400 per quarter.
So the last line item on the video option is been stricken.
Yes,
So it does or does not change the
it
price?
does not change the price.
Jeff, Jeff,
Jeff, we spoke, did if we can still do some sort of video encoder or something that will take the video and just upload it live online for us.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. We'll get a separate, if you wanna hold off tonight, we'll get a separate number for that. We don't have that for tonight's meeting.
There's no way to use what we've been using rather than do it through the Meva, through live stream is what I'm saying. Can we just use that equipment to run it through live stream systems? You don't know.
I felt we were getting away from that, so we didn't really check on live stream.
Yeah, we just need a
Anything?
digital converter that will stream it to YouTube, live stream, whatever platform you want. We just gotta have some device to do that, so.
And we can still be using Mevo in here. Live stream.
Oh, we would.
Unless you wanna have the work sessions out there or buy an additional camera. Because that camera's gonna be on the ceiling shooting at council, directly at council. So it's not.
Well, A, don't ever say shooting at council, please. But, no, we don't have a problem with this. In this room, it's appropriate. In that room, it's a little difficult. So what we just need to find out, so we're taking out this converting of videos and we're using an appliance or.
That does it for free.
That does it for free.
Well, we need to buy that appliance, right?
Yeah, you have to buy the appliance and then
So
it just
can-
converts it
can
over, or
you
whatever
just-
solution
What
they
about a
have.
Radio Shack?
Yeah, radiation.
They'll come up with
Find
the
one.
appropriate solution.
So we'll come up with something, that's the easy part. What I'm saying is, they were talking about, so that was a quarterly bill that was not included in the price.
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter, we're just gonna add whatever the cost of that appliance is, and I'm sure it's negligible in comparison to the whole project. So with that change, anybody else have any other questions? Seeing none, we're gonna do the same thing here.
We're gonna put this on for the public meeting, right, once we get the number,
We can put
final
the,
number.
yeah, we get the final
There's not
number
as much,
for, okay. Got it. Okay, so we're good, moving forward for the public meeting, that's when we'll vote on it. Next, guess who's up, Jim? That'll be you. So next we're talking about the fee estimate for engineering services for the Route 130 sanitary sewer cleaning and closed circuit TV. Jim, if you would, just because while we all read this, tell us just a little, if you could just give us a quick history, and I mean quick, just to talk about what happened, the scope of it, and exactly where it impacts, like from Barlow to.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so as you know, you own, the sewer collection system in town. And along Route 130, from, I want to say Home Depot, approximately a little bit south of Home Depot, to Swedes Run. There's an interceptor in Swedes Run, but along Route 130, there's a main line, and there's an asbestos cement pipe that was put in a long time ago. We're not sure exactly when, but it's over 50, 60 years. And recently there was an issue in front of Barlow's property where a portion of that pipe collapsed, and the sewer department had to go in with their emergency contractor to expose the pipe, make a repair, and and see what's going on. So when they exposed the pipe, they found that at that portion it was really brittle. The asbestos in the pipe was being eaten away, and there was concern that that could be going on at different locations along that same line, considering its age. Important thing to know is that the line around Home Depot, that's where it takes the discharge from the different pump stations on that side of town, mainly the Clay Street pump station, and then one other pump station off of Bridgeboro. And sometimes you get more corrosion from the pump station discharges because of the chemical processes from pumping it. So we're hopefully thinking that the corrosion was limited maybe to the top portion of the pipe from, like, say, probably maybe Holy Cross up to Home Depot, and we're going to address that, and it doesn't continue all the way down to Swedes Run. So the proposal we're giving you today is just do an investigation, going out to bid for a vendor to do a cleaning and television inspection of the pipe. We would be there when that's done most of the time to make sure that they're not damaging the pipe during the cleaning process. We've been talking about it with Joe Russell, who, your director. I mean, you do have a video and cleaning crew, but the nature of the location of the pipe along Route 130, it's in the shoulder. He was a little concerned about using his forces with the nature of the traffic and dealing with DOT and so forth. So the scope of work, as part of this proposal, is to put out, plan specs for bringing a vendor on board to video and clean the entire pipe, reviewing that video, and almost doing like a pre-preliminary recommendation for you and cost estimates on to, deal with whatever we find, possibly, direct, open cut, replacing the pipe, or like lining the pipe ultimately.
So the council knows, what was the approximate cost of the repair that we did by Barlow?
I'm not sure exactly how much it cost, because we weren't involved. That was Joe Russell handles the emergency repairs.
Right, and Joe did it, so it's not really a major cost in the sense of putting it out to another vendor to do it, but I was just getting an idea of what that type of cost would be, so these guys would have like an understanding of the magnitude.
Well, the contract Joe has with the emergency vendor is not in any shape or form able to be used for a complete replacement
Oh, no, I got
or the lining.
Right.
If we found that we had to reline the entire pipe from Home Depot and Dennis, we've gone, it's probably around $1 million. It's usually about
So you guys were-
$200 a foot to reline. The
Yeah,
cost
so-
will go up for open, having cut. There's a lot of infrastructure in the way. The pipe is in the shoulder, it's outside the cartway, but there's utility poles, the sidewalks, curbing, and all
It's
that,
a
and you're dealing
major-
with the traffic.
it's
It's a major line,
job, but
and that
turns
line,
out
that
hopefully
line
it's not,
serves
but-
pretty much, a third of the town, because there's Summerhill, everything, everything in that quadrant of town all runs through this line, plus whatever directly connects to along the Route 130 corridor and Chester Avenue, so.
But it is something we have to do because the condition of that pipe is.
Yeah, but we
is
already
a
have
major concern.
failure, and repair of that failure there was a cause for concern and it might
Yeah,
continue.
so let me ask a couple of questions, just so that we can get to the point where down the road, this is not optional. We just have to just gather what the commitment is here. So your estimate is to investigate and to put out a proposal to hire the company that would TV the lines?
Yes.
Now, would that, and that's where this estimate stops? Or would it be to
No,
see the
we-
project through?
Our estimate, our scope of work will stop after delivering you the TV report, cleaning the lines, giving you the TV report, review of the report, and recommendation as how to mitigate this line, if mitigation is required, and
Okay.
cost assessments associated with that. So
Okay.
you would take that, and then we would advance that if the council decides to, into a project, we actually then design the work, and then bid and build that.
Let me ask you a question, if you
So,
do.
can I
Oh,
finish?
sorry, go ahead.
So there's a couple of things. One is, so this is that part. We need to consider that there's also the part, the actual vendor who will be TV and cleaning the lines.
Yes.
And then, once we get that quote back, then we still need to hire another vendor or some other vendor that will be doing the actual remediation and your services to oversee that. Is that all correct? Am I missing
Well,
anything?
the latter part was a little, I would think, needs to be clarified. So the intent is after our work is performed with this, we have a scope of work that needs to get done to fix this pipe. Then, as just like you were resurfacing a road, we would have to prepare plans and specifications, and you would go out to a bid for a contractor to do that mitigation work.
Right. So there would be, so in your.
There would be definitely
That
more,
proposal
yeah.
would be the preparation for the actual contractor to do the work and the oversight of the project.
Construction administration, yes.
Right,
But
okay,
we
so-
don't really know what that scope is yet, because the
Granted.
pipe has to be investigated.
I have one more question, I think maybe this is for Jeff. Would this be paid for out of sewer capital?
This portion or
No,
the remediation?
And either portion.
Well, we think we have enough in this operating budget, but we want to look a little bit closer because we're getting near year end and Joe's got a number of projects that have to be addressed. We think we have enough to cover this initial
Right.
issue, and then after that, you'll have to make a decision. You have a significant amount of money in surplus for this very reason. For capital projects, you probably would have a number of options. You could pay for it in cash, if
So
that's what
it
you
is-
wanted to do, or if you wanted to spread it out
Would
over
it
a
be for
period
the
of time.
township surplus or the
Sewer
sewer?
utility.
Okay. I'm just trying to get my arms around, what this is being paid through. And because I know the condition financially of both of the operations, and they're both fine. I'm just trying to get an idea where it's coming from.
The sewer operations are in great shape.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of whether you want users over a 10-year period to pay it back, or if you want to pay it back all at once.
Right.
You have the ability.
And that's
to do
something
that.
down the road, that's not a question for
Okay,
tonight.
can I ask my other? Sure. Okay. So the first part you said was gonna include the TVing of the line and also the cleaning of the line, correct? Okay, my question to you before we even go to that second step, if they do the TVing of the line and it looks bad, would they clean it? And that's, right, that was
No,
my,
because they have to clean it first.
so they have to clean it before, okay, so they're gonna clean it
You
and
have
then.
to jet it to be able to get the camera down.
That's it. Now, do we, and this might follow on to that, that's where I was headed. Do we feel the cleaning of that line could impact it where it may bring this on quicker than we think because?
That's part of why we included in there time for us to be out there with, sometimes you can just let these guys go and they'll come back and report. Here, it's gonna be delicate where it's definitely a concern that you don't wanna make it worse by cleaning it. So they do preliminary cameras before they actually start jetting it, and then it's a step-by-step
Okay,
process.
that's
So,
what-
yeah, it's
that's my
definitely-
concern,
yeah.
because when they mess with something that could be already messed up, I hate to see it, because then all of a sudden we have an emergency thing where we may have to
Right,
really
and that's why
react
we're
quick.
going, I mean, the numbers I think we're quoting you is probably worst case scenario as far as cost. We might be stopping this operation after a day, saying we can't go any further, we'll have to revisit how we're gonna do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council? So what do? We authorize Jim? We need-
I'd like to get Joe to give me tighter numbers. Right now, he's right up against it. He thinks there's enough money to do this out of this year's operating budget, but like I said, he's got a couple of projects that they're already committed to, and I should know by next week.
If we were to authorize moving forward with this, do we need to have the exact funding plan in place before we do that?
We're gonna need a certificate of availability of funds, which would be the budget. I mean, right now, she could certify it because there's funds, but there's also some projects that are in mid.
From the sewer
Sewer
department?
operating budget, correct.
So, my concern, I think everybody's concern, including Ken's, is we know it's failed once. Are we sitting on a time bomb, and what kind of delay are we talking about? Because if we can do this in public, but that's 3 weeks away? Yeah, and 3 weeks from tonight, so we got almost a month before we can start. Are we? I mean,
When do you want to do this?
We wanna obviously do it as soon as possible, but obviously you have to follow your procedures.
But
and,
also
you
the
know,
weather,
I mean, we're not calling it an emergency, because then we'd be out there right now, you know,
Does it,
so.
what I think I'm asking is, I mean, we know between the two operations, between the township and if the sewer doesn't have it, we would get it somehow, no?
Well, we don't want it to come out of the operating. It's a much tougher budget.
Okay, all right, so,
I mean, not from the township budget.
Like,
We're
I
not
mean,
keeping
you
utility.
have precautions in place in case there's like something happens that you already have an
Right.
emergency contractor ready to respond.
Right.
This process, it's gonna be a long process to video.
all
I
right,
mean,
so
we're gonna put out the
3 weeks
bids.
aren't gonna be,
No.
something that this is gonna go at any minute, or we might, but if it is,
Correct.
we're not.
I mean,
gonna-
you have alternate, you have a backup plan for that in
Okay.
place.
As long as we don't have to wait.
If we had to do this as an emergency, we wouldn't be here right now, we'd probably be doing it with.
Well, you would be there, we would.
But why,
It's not.
my thing is, why can't we authorize the bid of having it cleaned and jetted if we do have the funding? And then, if we then have to go further, we just have to make sure that money's available.
Because the
to do
money's,
the
Because that's what-
because
money we're
that's the
talking
money
about.
that
Oh,
was.
the initial?
Yeah.
You need two, you need the
I got
cost
it.
and then also the
It's,
contract.
it's tight. I mean, we may have it, and Joe just wanted to see where those other
Right.
projects are, because they're
Yeah.
at the plant and they're also important to the
Right.
plant.
So we would move this to the public meeting, which would be the next possible meeting, and that is the 12th, correct? So we are talking, Right, because the election, we don't know if we're gonna push that meeting. So for the 12th, so it is
I mean,
truly 3 weeks from
We'll
today.
get your report back before the 12th, and then if it allows it, to put it on to authorize on the 12th.
Okay, I think that's fair. Everybody else okay with that? All right. So far, so good. All right, so, next we need, our reports. After our reports, we'll go to, executive session, and, we'll start with, EMS once we do that. So, let's go, Jamie, do you have anything for us tonight? Jeff, anything in open?
Nothing
for us?
tonight.
No. Stuart, anything for
No,
us?
sir.
No, sir. Jim?
Yeah, I just wanted to update on the road program.
Please.
They finished paving over at Patricia and Diane, everything went well.
Okay.
They're gonna be working on Wills next, they're actually working on the concrete work this week, and they're most likely gonna be milling and paving on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday next week. And then we're going to move to Norman, Lake, and River. River will not get done this year because we're working with the county and coordinating on that. And Lake most likely will get done with Norman, we're just working out the limits with the county on Norman. I would say that 90% of the road's gonna get done. Where we stop it in front of that last, and that one, that boat maintenance business, in front of the marina down there. Because we can't go into the intersection of Norman and River, we gotta stay a little bit further, so. That should all get done this year. So everything's been working out well, we haven't had too many complaints. Just your typical residents asking for more work to get done than originally scoped, but it's been pretty good.
Good.
Actually, a quick question there.
Yes.
Is River Drive aware that it's not gonna get done this?
That's a good question, I don't know, I'll find out.
If not,
I mean, there's not that many residents on it, but, and I'll find out, we might be able to do some of River Drive.
I think if there's.
I can hit- I can-
this year,
I can-
just make sure they're notified so that they're not sitting there waiting.
Yes, we should be meeting with the county and the county's contractor and our contractor shortly, and then we'll produce a letter and hand deliver it to their offices,
So,
or notice.
I think I know in the public meetings, we talked about that we were going to coordinate with the county, and that they were really the determining factor by way of timeline, but we were ready to go as soon as they were ready to go.
Yeah, I know there was just some press about what streets were being done, and we put it on Facebook, I think, so sometimes, I don't know if they all said, you know, it may not get done this year, I don't want
We
them.
talked about it last meeting.
You know, but everyone doesn't
Well,
bring our minutes.
we were worried more roads want to get done this year, so
Yeah.
but, pretty good.
Good. Anything else, Jim?
No, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, if you have the one workshop in November, I might not be here that week, so I might have to send a replacement. I'll deal with that.
That'd be the
8th or 7th? Yeah.
26th.
Greg can stop by
Okay.
minutes and-
I'll send Greg.
Send Greg, yeah, that'd be cool. Be good to see him. All right. Tom, anything for us tonight?
Yeah, just the issue that we have in Ward 2 with, we originally contacted Tyler about Grand Boulevard and that road, how wide it is and the speeding. I think we're waiting on some police reports for, like tickets and stuff like that.
Okay, I'll get that to, we have it.
Okay, yeah, we
That's
want
the
that.
crash one.
Yeah, and that way we can keep
Yeah.
on top of what we're going to do, what are our options, what are the prices for those options.
For with the crowd and stuff and the people
Well,
walking.
well, and the
No, it's a
speeding,
different-
it's actually for the speeding. People are flying
I agree.
through that open spot that's so wide. And,
Then
you know,
they
there's
do
a lot of
like that.
kids, bus stops.
Are we gonna look into it for the kids too, at the fields at the same time? Do we do it?
On the Grand?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been out there, I've looked at it, it's definitely, I can see how the problem is being created just with that wide expanse of a road, with no pavement striping at all.
Exactly.
So yeah, I have thought of some things, and I can develop some concept plans and cost estimates for you guys to consider for next year's budget, that and Tempe.
Any canes?
Yes, actually, yes.
Well, that's my.
Gotta make it an hour.
favorite word.
Gotta make an hour.
So we
Okay.
just want to stay on top of
The
that.
chicanes are good because they can make the crosswalk shorter and keep everything more.
That's it.
Thank you, Tom. Tyler, anything tonight?
Yeah, quick, little unconventional, but I want to congratulate Virginia's daughter on homecoming queen
Nice.
this year, so congratulations. That's all I got.
That's all?
Yep.
Virginia?
No report.
Okay. Nothing about your daughter? No. Okay.
No, I think that's fine.
Mike, anything tonight?
I mirror Mr. Burrell's congratulatory remark. I was there. It was a beautiful
event. It was great for the town, a lot of people out, it was beautiful weather that day. Second thing, I want to thank everybody who worked on the roads, Patricia and Diane, I looked at them today, they look great. So
Awesome.
It's great that we've got that, moving forward, so.
And we're within budget.
And within budget, yeah.
We're on
Yeah.
schedule.
On schedule.
Don't
303, ain't bad.
Only halfway done.
Good. It's all mine?
Yep.
Okay. So the only thing I have, just wanted, we've been back and forth, the invitation went out a while back, and there's a county economic development roundtable that's actually tomorrow morning. I don't think any of us are available to attend that, but I just wanted to, if anybody had no plans for tomorrow morning at 8:30, 9 o'clock, that's still up in the air. It actually went out to all the mayors in the various towns for the economic development person in charge of that, and I just, I think any of us or anybody that Jeff might deem that could go out, but it's a little late, I didn't realize it was tomorrow until today. When I looked at it, I figured we'd talk about it tonight, but that's really all. I would like to know, maybe we can reach out to them and get some sort of a report of what they discussed or something. It'd be good to know, because it's always the same area that's in need of redevelopment. That's all I have. Ken, you have something for us?
Yeah, I do. We had a meeting, myself, Jeff, and Jim, with the Army Corps, which was a very good meeting. They reached out to us, and they, I think they have some financial backing for possible study to do on our erosion issue down by the river. So we met out with them. We walked the entire area from Chester to the sewer plant. We had them behind the sewer plant, and I believe we're waiting to hear back, and I really don't want to go really much further other than they are going to get back to us and let us know about the study and how it's going to progress and go forward. I don't really want to go into too much more because as it is, we started doing our coalition. They were aware of the coalition, but I want to make sure that we're still going forward with the coalition and trying to get more recognition for all the towns in Burlington County. That's it.
Okay.
So that's a good news story, but we'll see how we
There's somebody out there, just let him, oh, it's Karen. Okay, while we're, so I need a motion to go into public.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we're in public. So this is typically where we go around. Anybody has a question or comment? I know you guys are here for the next thing, so we'll get to that as soon as we get out of public. So if you have any questions in public, you're more than welcome to delay your section.
No question.
Great. Chuck, anything? No? Okay. Seeing no additional hands, I'll ask for a motion to come out of public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to pause the recording equipment.